Hello and welcome to Year 2 Psychology. This is the topic of relationships, and in this video we're looking very briefly at self-disclosure. So let's look at what that means. Self-disclosure is where you disclose information about yourself. You reveal personal information to somebody else. And the more personal information you reveal, the greater feeling of intimacy you will have with that person. And the idea of self-disclosure comes from within a larger theory called social penetration theory. And it's the gradual process of revealing your inner self to somebody. So you start at the outermost layer and then gradually work your way in to find out more about somebody else. So in romantic relationships, this involves what we call the reciprocal, which means two-way exchange of information. And what happens is when you exchange information, it displays trust. You're trusting the other person with that information. And so they also then will reveal sensitive information. And so there's two really important concepts within this. If you think about the layers of an onion, which is really helpful here, I'm sure we're all thinking of Shrek at this point, we reveal the most superficial information first, the outermost information, moving inwards in the layers to more intimate details. That's depth, but we also think about breadth. So how many topics we would talk about. So at the start, both breadth and depth are very narrow. So at the start, we have only a few topics that we're willing to talk about. As the relationship develops, the breadth gets more, and we're willing, as you can see in the third picture here, we're willing to talk about more topics because there's less things that we would guard. So we're willing to reveal more personal information, that is depth, but also to talk about a wider breadth of topics once this process has occurred. Okay, and reciprocity, really important there, that self-disclosure must be two-way reciprocal if it's going to lead to intimacy. Okay, let's look at some evaluation. Right, we've got research support here first. So there's a couple of studies. The first one is where Lorenzo got married couples to keep diary entries, to record things like the self-disclosures they'd made, their partner disclosures, and the degree of intimacy they felt. So it's a self-report study. And what he did was he looked at those diaries then and found that those who were reporting higher levels of intimacy were also reporting higher levels of self-disclosure, and also those who were reporting lower self-disclosure were reporting lower intimacy. So that's support for the idea that this process of self-disclosure is linked to the strength of a relationship. Second piece of research evidence was by someone called Sprecher, and he got two people to meet on Skype twice. They're strangers. They meet on Skype, have a conversation two separate times. There's two conditions. The first condition is reciprocal, and that means that both times both of them talk. The one-sided condition means that in the first conversation, one person just talks and the other person listens and asks questions. And in the second condition, they switch. So you've got one where you've got reciprocal all the time, where they're both asking questions and answering, and the other you've got either one talking or the other talking. And they found that in the reciprocal condition where it's two-way, they're both revealing that got much better. They've got much higher liking, closeness, perceived similarity and enjoyment. Both partners are reporting all of those things being higher. So that supports the idea of reciprocity as an element of self-disclosure, that where you remove that, you're losing the ability to make self-disclosure and feel that proceed down to greater intimacy. Right, and then our third strength is really real-life applications. Knowing this information is really useful. It can be used with marriage counselling, where you can look at whether reciprocity is occurring, whether self-disclosure is kind of even-sided, and use it as a tool. The theory can help with social skills, relationships, friendships. It's got loads of different implications. So it's had a positive impact in the real world. Right, this is our weakness for today, and this is linked to your issues and debates topic. This is an ethnocentric theory. It's really based on Western values. When it's been researched in different areas of the world, in Asia, One piece of research found that Americans self-disclose a lot more than Chinese and Japanese, so it's probably more important as a part of relationships in the West than it is in Asian countries. And then we have a second study here by Nakanishi, who found that Japanese women actually prefer a higher level of self-disclosure to Japanese men, which is the opposite way round from what we would report and expect in the West. So both of those pieces of research suggest that this is a culturally biased theory that holds true for the West but is not universal.